hope you're not talking about the drinks.
No, just your nephew.
We'll have none of that, thanks.
Well, tell that to Alya.
And since when did you become Hope Not 8?
Since he spiked my daughter and nearly blew up half the street. Well, at least he's done one good thing and he's pleaded guilty.
Has he?
Yeah. What sort of parents would let their child get involved with something like that?
Oh, Tracy, it's not that simple.
Oh, never is with you.
Look, do you want these drinks or what?
Yes, Leanne, we do.
Right, one woo-woo for you, pussyfoot, and a dirty Shirley.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 240 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that notes that anyone who thought Alya was relatively unscathed after being blown up 2 weeks ago and stabbed in the lung last week obviously failed to see her shuffling around in her big jacket this week. I'm Gavin.
And I'm really sorry, Charlie. I watched episode 3 of The Last of Us and didn't cry.
Oh.
It was good, but I didn't cry. And I'm a crier.
He was crying all the way through it, apparently.
Yeah. It was,
Maybe somebody had need him in the newts.
it was good. Don't get me wrong.
I haven't seen any
of
of it, so don't spoil it for me.
I will not. I'm a fan of Nick Offerman as well. Because he's in episode 3. That's all I'm going to say.
How you doing?
I'm sore and I'm tired. It's been a long week.
It has been a long week. It's been a long week where I feel like I've never stopped, and yet I have very little to show for it.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Although I guess I have a lot to show for it because I finally finished the book auction. It is complete. It should drop sometime this week, so I'm very excited to see that drop and see how it does and everything. I'm nervous. It's like sending a child out into the world.
Is this your first auction that you've put together?
Yes. Essentially by myself.
Right.
An auction of like over, 550 lots in this auction.
What if nobody buys anything?
Worth over $150,000.
Oh.
People better buy stuff. Make my paycheck worth it.
Right.
And so now I'm working on the man cave auction.
There's a man cave auction?
There's going to be a man cave auction, yes. I was photographing old spittoons and a trolling box and a
What kind of man cave is this?
and a corkscrew made out of a deer's foot. There'll be lots of different things. There'll be things for men like you as well.
Oh, okay, good.
not just hunting
And things
and
to spit on. It's like,
fishing.
I've got the whole outside for that.
I don't think people actually use spittoons anymore, do they? Aren't they merely
Why are
decorative?
you asking me?
You don't chaw tobacco.
I don't.
There are people in our
Funnily
town.
enough, frequent caller to the show, John Welsh, he chews tobacco.
I know.
That's
So
disgusting.
gross. I'm sorry, John. It's so gross. So gross.
I remember when he was on a trivia team and we were sitting in Craftco, and there was a team of like 6 or 7 of us at the time, and he was just passing around a tin of this. I can't remember what the name of it was. It had a picture of
Skulls,
an
probably.
elk on it. No, it wasn't skulls.
It wasn't skulls?
But it had a picture of an elk on it, I think, and it was like winter green flavour. And there was this guy who said he hadn't chawed tobacco for like 20 years, and he stuffed it in, and God, his teeth were just covered in flakes of this tobacco. It was kind of horrible.
And then they spit right there at the table into
Constantly.
their wee cups.
Constantly, they'll have the little cup that
Like,
they're
excuse me.
putting into. Oh,
It's like we live in the Wild West. Oh,
yeah. Not for me.
no.
I mean,
no.
as someone who
Grounds for
has
divorce.
smoked, as someone who has smoked
Grounds for divorce.
and knows what tobacco does,
Right.
having it pressed up to your gum like that just doesn't seem like a great idea.
No. No.
And that's without the Surgeon General warning.
Yes.
I remember, on the year that I flew to Australia and then also went to California, and there was smoking in those days. And in the UK, on your cigarette packet, it used to say the UK. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a government health warning that says tobacco can seriously damage your health or things like
Right.
that.
And it's large. It's
And then-
huge. It like covers the whole box.
Not at this time it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And in the US, it had things like smoking can cause emphysema and premature birth and stuff like that. And in Australia, it said smoking can reduce your fitness. I thought, if anything could be more Australian.
In fairness,
It's true, I guess. Dead people ain't fit.
in Australia, there are so many other things that will kill you before tobacco does.
I suppose so. I suppose so.
How was your week?
Didn't I say?
I can't remember
I think I said.
anymore.
Felt like I thought about it a lot. Felt like I achieved
yes.
little. Yeah.
Yes. We practically live in bowling alleys now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of the problem.
I've got another story about the bowling, but it's far too long to tell. So, let's preamble, my dear.
Yes, please.
Give us some of that striking Corrie news.
Oh, well done. Alya's stabbing sparked serious action by viewers. No, not to donate to refugee relief or to anti-hate groups.
Oh, can I guess how many complaints?
Go ahead.
Oh, there were. 15.
No, they went out to file off-cam complaints. Over 72 of them.
Off-com complaints.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said?
You said off-cam, I think.
Yeah.
72?
72. 72 people found the fortitude to sit down and file a complaint about watching a stabbing that actually showed real blood. Well, not real
Well,
blood, but
Very fake blood.
real fake blood.
It wasn't the sight of it that made me flinch. In fact, none of it made me flinch, but it certainly wasn't the sight of it. But the thing that was closest to making me flinch was the sound of it. There was a sound of the stabbing that was quite unexpected.
Right.
That I don't know how realistic it is, but still to complain about that.
Haven't been stabbed recently,
No,
huh?
or watched any stabbings recently.
No. Not in real life, anyway.
No, I did see Infinity Pool at the weekend, and there's plenty of stabbing in that. I don't remember it making as much noise as that. But
No, there are other things that make noise in Infinity Pool.
yeah, Alexander Skarsgård's penis, for example.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Chewing tobacco, Alexander Skarsgård's penis.
I think
That's what the people come to us for.
we're 2/3 of the way through the Talk of the Street bingo card.
Max's bully turned admirer, Blake, has left the building. Actor Adam Little has confirmed that he has left the show. So, no comeuppance or redemption arc for that kid.
No redemption arc, indeed. So,
So, we don't get to,
5 episodes was he in it for?
something like that.
I saw the guy that played Dave.
Which one was Dave again? He was one of the guys.
Dave was the muscly one.
Was he the muscly one?
Yeah, he was one that Peter somehow managed to push over. Yeah, he's out of it as well. So it seems like they're kind of just,
Yeah,
we're kind of done with all that now.
right. Except for Max.
Yeah,
And more of that
more of that. We'll
later.
get to that, yeah.
Yes. And finally, congrats to former Corrie actor Nicola Thorpe, who announced her engagement to partner Nikesh Patel this week.
Ah, Mazel Tov indeed.
Mazel tov indeed. Couldn't happen to a better person. I do enjoy following Nicola on the gram,
Rustling a few feathers, as she does.
as she should. Well done to her. I enjoy watching her rustle feathers. More feather rustling should be done by everyone.
Wrestling?
Rustling. Are you not understanding American English tonight?
You're speaking very funny tonight.
And that's Corrie News.
That is Corrie News, and that, I think, as tradition dictates, moves us very neatly onto Will Podcast for Coffee. We are drinking our own coffees this week. Well, I'm drinking a Canada Dry, 0 sugar.
You mean a Stephen?
Yes. Oi, Canada Dry. Yes. I don't know if he's 0 sugar or not.
Well, he's
That's
not.
probably 0
He's
sugar.
not very sweet.
It's probably 0 sugar.
Yay. And I'm drinking an unsweetened iced tea.
Well, that's not because nobody bought us coffees this week. But anyway,
No.
The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street, and we'll be very grateful, won't we, Helen?
Yes. Commentary on Alexander Skarsgård's penis does not come for free.
That's right. More's to pity.
Yes.
And now, this.
Welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about a little tinkle.
That would be Sally's tinkle in the garden. I'm sorry, I had to hiccup there for some reason.
That's right. This was Tim's mum giving Tim a bell that he could ring to call on her like she was his servant. Just give it a little tinkle, she would say.
Poor choice of words by Tim's mum.
I was Gavin. And you want no more snow.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it this year because we didn't get much.
Yeah,
This is probably going to be gone by midweek next week.
This time last year, we'd got a foot of snow falling in a little over 24 hours. And my gloves picked a good time to go missing. It's not so much the snow that bothered me, it was the moving of the snow that bothered me. Letterboxd wasn't helping your pseudo OCD as you were collecting the movies of Simon Pegg, which explained why Ice Age 2 was on my TV when I got home from work that day. Bent Copper Craig turns plumber and crime scene cleaner as he attempts to cover Faye and Emma's tracks and keep dead Ted's pesky grandson off the scent. Sally and Tim's mum compete to be Tim's top carer, with the latter producing a bell so she can be at his beck and call. Hope's involvement in Joseph's disappearance generates very different reactions and solutions from Fizz and the other members of the family, so that was a year ago.
Yeah, that got a call back this week.
Yeah. With her sights set on a risk management course, Asha has plans to attend university in that Glasgow, but worries about the distance and the strain that will put on Nina's fragile emotional state. Kelly can't do right for doing wrong, as an accident during Liam's French homework and an overheard conversation once again has her questioning her place on the street. Family and neighbours' worries grow about Audrey and the perception of her drinking problem. Tensions rise between Daniel and Max as David's personal ghosts are accidentally revisited. Sarah's been working on her Scottish. Bethany will FaceTime at 9.
But not like that.
Now everyone knows about Kintsugi. Our moment of the week was David explaining to Max about being raped by Josh, and the boring moment of the week was Lydia going on to Daniel about feminism, and that was Coronation Street and the Talk of the Street, this time last year.
My goodness.
What a time to be alive.
Yes.
Shall we dive in, my dear?
I suppose so. Let's get the cringing over with
How
now.
did you find it this week? And by this week I mean 2 hours ago when you watched it all.
There were some very awkward scenes that made me very cringy and needing to kind of disassociate from this week in a couple of storylines.
Did you cover your face with a pillow?
I just turned my face to the wall.
I like to cover my face with a pillow when I'm cringing.
All right,
a little
just
light and upon magic there.
walk away and just listen to it from the other room.
Oh well, so if you misheard something, that's probably what happened then. Our first storyline tonight is Cilla's revenge.
Dum dum dum.
Dum, dum, dum. On Monday, Hope is down in the dumps about poor dead Cilla. Fizz says that she's gone to a better place, Emmerdale.
They do need some more younger women over there at the Emmerdale.
So I'm seeing. No, that's the EastEnders.
Oh, I knew it started with an E.
That's right. That's the cultural penetration of the United Kingdom soap operas on an American audience. Or on this American audience.
Somebody on Twitter was asking North Americans what their favorite British word was. And I said ball bag. It's a good word.
It's more a Scottish word than a British word.
Well, is Scotland part of Great Britain?
Yeah, but I would think that a British word would be one that would be used in a wider context.
I don't care. I love ball bags.
Well, I've certainly heard that rumour. Ty and Fizz are worried about seeing Beth and Kirk today. At the bus stop, Sam is sorry to hear of the demise of the chinchilla. Hope promises that she will enact a furious and bloody revenge in Cilla's name and asks for Sam's help. At the factory, there's an uneasy standoff between Fizz and Beth, and they seem to bury the hatchet a bit until Beth likens Cilla to Craigie's rat and then doubles down by calling her vermin. The two of them nearly come to blows until Carla splits it up.
She was a rodent.
Yeah.
She was a rodent. Beth's not wrong.
No.
And rodents can be cute.
And they have the densest fur in the animal kingdom, let's not forget.
Right. And they were grossly misjudged when it comes to the Black Plague.
Chinchillas?
Rats.
Oh. Yeah,
Rodents in
I
general.
think chinchillas got off lightly when it came to the Black Death.
Yes. Yes.
After school, Sam sweet talks Maria into loaning him Vin Weasel for a school project, but hands it off to Hope in the alleyway of doom later.
It was the fleas.
The bass player from Red Hot Chili Peppers, he's got a lot to answer for.
He's responsible. He's responsible for some of my favorite scenes in Babylon and the Black Death.
A mixed card. Where am I? Anyway, Hope advises Sam to leave it to her and then uses Vin Weasel's fangs to bite her own arm.
Which should not make a believable bite mark by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, it didn't.
Right. And yet she fooled so many people, including people in hospital.
I don't know if the people in the hospital are going to really care too much. They're just going to give her a tetanus and send her on her way. And if she says that she's been bitten by a dog, sure, whatever.
Right, but the hospital should have been obliged to report this.
Would they?
Yeah.
Why?
Because.
Oh, good. I'm glad you've got an explanation then.
Thank you.
So she meets up with Beth and Peanut in the community garden, and while Beth's back's turned, she screams in pain, claiming that Peanut bit her. So back home, Hope gives a sob story to Fizz, but Beth isn't falling for it, accusing Hope of lying about this. Tyrone rushes Hope to the hospital with Beth and Peanut slinking off home. Later, Hope is back and still in one piece after a tetanus jab. Evelyn is furious that Peanut had been left off the leash, and Fizz is worried about what will happen if Peanut bites another kid. Beth and Kirk arrive, demanding to see those bite marks. Fizz tells them that she intends to report Peanut to the police. Kirk and Beth are both livid at this. Well, Beth is. So Fizz does that. She phones the cops and explains to Hope later that this may mean that Peanut is going to be put down. And this seems to shock Hope, who thought that Peanut would just get a 6-month suspended sentence or whatever. I never wanted her to die. Oh well.
Nobody has proven that dog did anything to that chinchilla.
No.
And somebody should have been in the room with both of them together, and someone should have shut the cage door properly. So the fact that everybody just assumes that Peanut is guilty of killing this chinchilla by scaring her to death, which isn't a thing, and also if she was barking at the thing and terrifying it, other people in the house would have heard it.
Can we just take a moment to reflect on the fact that this soap opera has made you say the sentence, no one can prove that that dog did anything to that chinchilla. It's come to this.
It has come to this.
On Wednesday, early morning, and Tyrone catches Hope retrieving Vin Weasel from the outhouse. Tyrone might be stupid, but he's not that stupid, and he knows something is going on. And as he's running this by Fizz, he spots that the bite marks on Hope's arm line up perfectly with Vin Weasel's fangs. Fizz is appalled, even more so when Hope explains that she was avenging Cilla's death, which was actually quite funny. She turns on the waterworks when she says that she didn't realise that Peanut could get put down. At the factory, Beth and Kirk are sitting on pins as they await news of Peanut's fate when Fizz comes in and says, yeah, about that, and she explains about Hope faking the bite, but she frames it as just a harmless prank that went wrong. Beth is fuming, calling Hope an evil psycho from hell with a Netflix documentary in the pipeline.
That was funny.
Fizz promises Hope will be punished. How? Says Beth, and Fizz doesn't have much of an answer for this.
She's going to get a pizza.
Right. So on the street later, Beth is still furious as she shouts at Hope and demands an apology. Hope says that she is sorry, but she says that she's due an apology as well, as that stupid dog is responsible for Cilla's death. And there's a strange little lingering shot on Beth's face here, and then later, Hope gets home and Fizz and Tyrone are ready to dish out their punishment when Hope claims that Beth slapped her across the face on the street.
Yeah. Tyrone says, where? And she's like, on my face. And it's like, you would have a mark on your face if an adult slapped you.
Well, first of all, Tyrone says, where? And Hope says, on the street. And then Tyrone says, no, where on your body? Was it your arm or whatever?
Right, yeah. Because there's no visible mark on that child.
No. But still, I felt there was a little bit of a Max switcheroo going on here. That Hope has cried wolf once too often, sort of thing.
We shall see.
So, meanwhile, Beth is celebrating a new haircut and not dead dog at the bistro when she gets a text from Fizz asking her to pop over. She must grab Kirk along the way, and they turn up on the assumption that they're about to get their apology. Fizz and Ty explain Hope's accusation, and Beth is shocked and denies laying a finger on Hope, and she's affronted to learn that they even considered it could be true, and Kirk is like to Tyrone, I don't see how the two of us can remain friends after this. So, Fizz and Tyrone approach Hope with this, and she maintains that she's telling the truth. Fizz and Ty explain that if it is true, they're going to lose two of their friends about this, and they're going to have to go at the cops about it. And plus, Hope is a lying sack of shit, so is she absolutely sure that she has nothing that she wants to admit? And Hope doubles down. She says that she's telling the truth. Beth did indeed scalp her jaw in the middle of the street. And at this I'm thinking, I actually believe Hope here. She didn't have a mark on her face, but I did believe her. On Friday, Fizz and Tyrone bump into Beth and Kirk on the street, and there is a frosty atmosphere that carries on to the factory, and Beth grabs a word with Fizz and explains how upset Kirk is, and admits to Beth that she had some very harsh words with Hope, but she wants to put it all behind them for Kirk and Tyrone's sake. Fizz is in agreement, but just as long as they can all sit down and discuss it, which doesn't sound like putting anything behind them to me. So, Beth and Kirk sit and have tea and pink biscuits with Fizz and Tyrone, and they're making amends and making up, and all are having a good old laugh when Hope comes in and is disgusted to see them all larking it up. She storms out and Beth goes after her. And the conversation that they have on the street, it turns out that, yep, indeed, Beth really did slap Hope after all, and she apologises for it. She blames Hope for provoking her and says that they've both learned a lesson now, and gives her a $5 to keep her mouth shut and buy some sweets. Hope remains unimpressed, but agrees to let it go. For now.
Dum dum dum.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes. So Beth really did slap a child that did not belong to her.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the old days.
Yeah.
Remember the old days? When a neighbor would punish you and your parents would defend the neighbor?
Anytime I got into trouble, my mum was always, what did you do?
Right. Yeah.
So-and-so shouted at me, or so-and-so gave me a row, or
right.
So-and-so put a knife through my ball. So what
right.
did you do then? Well, you shouldn't have kicked your ball into their garden then.
Oh, an actual ball.
Yeah. Not my testicle, no.
Not your ball bag.
No. But yeah, it was always our fault.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Not these days.
And we turned out fine.
No, but did we? Because now we complain to teachers when teachers shout at kids and...
I don't.
No, but people generally do.
Yeah. I say, well,
Shout louder.
get your work in then.
Right.
Don't be lazy. I don't care if you have a B average. Should be an A. Do you think Hope is done exacting revenge in Cilla's name?
Not with the way that she said cow at the end of that storyline tonight.
Yeah, but she's not going to exact revenge on Peanut anymore, I don't think.
No, she's going to exact it on Beth.
Right, because she did seem genuinely sorry when she thought the dog was going to die.
Yeah, did she though? Because she's old enough to know that you
Well, she
report a
should
dog
be
to the
old
police,
enough.
and she's going to know this. That if you report a dog to the police for biting, they're going to put the dog down.
Yeah, she didn't seem to, though.
And I find that hard to believe.
She is at a point, though, that nobody on that street but her parents believe her. And even her parents don't really believe her anymore. That's got to give her pause at this point.
I kind of felt they were milking it a little bit in the show with Fizz and Tyrone just falling over themselves to believe her.
Right.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is true to character. And
Yeah.
we've said this, I don't know how many times, that they're the worst parents. And
Yeah.
this is why they're the worst parents, because they never call her out in her shit.
No.
Their punishments are always non-existent.
Right.
It's very much kind of like the Max situation where
Absolutely.
she gets into trouble after trouble after trouble and nothing happens. So
Yeah.
she
So
just
she's
ends up
gonna
getting into
be-
bigger trouble.
Yeah, so she's going to be a terrorist someday, too.
Well, probably. And people look back and say the same thing happened to Max.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still in the jail.
Yes. Thank God.
Yeah. I'm glad that Peanut didn't
Die.
That would have been an absolute outroar.
Yes.
Because I don't think everyone sees the Hope character as being as potentially comical as I think we see it.
Yeah. I mean, she did essentially kill her unborn sibling by trying to start a fire and smoke it out. Mm-hmm. So she's not. It's not harmless.
No, and it was quite amusing to hear Beth rhyme off the charge sheet against her.
Right.
A tendency to start fire, certainly.
Right.
Hiding a boy in the attic
for money.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
well, see, when you explain it that way, it doesn't
Right.
sound too great, does it?
No.
But it's perfectly true.
Yeah.
And you
it
can
does still
see-
amuse us, though.
Right. And you can see Fizzy's face as she's listening to this, and she knows that everything that Beth is saying about
Is
Hope
true.
is true, but she just doesn't like to hear it.
No.
And
Because that means she has to do something about it.
right, and their go-to excuse seems to be she's just a kid.
Right.
Yeah, she's just a kid who's done all this ridiculously evil things.
Yeah. Because kids are evil.
Generally speaking,
Yes.
absolutely. No, I think we haven't seen the last of it. It was nice to see kind of Kirk involved in a story that wasn't just
Him walking down the street with a yo-yo.
a yo-yo or misunderstanding what something means.
Right.
Or no, he was distraught about losing his friend.
Right.
And he was distraught about the accusations being levelled at Beth, and he was quick to jump to her defence, and it was like
Yes, which was nice.
almost like we're giving Kirk a proper story here.
Yes. And then they had to ruin it with those pink biscuits.
Yeah.
Oh! Fit another one in your mouth, Tyrone. Oh!
But not like that.
Well, they were pink.
Yep. 9 pink biscuits. Well, Mr. Ambassador, you're spoiling us. Oh well. Moving on then to our next storyline. I'll need my guitar for this.
Uh-oh. You got enough room over there.
Justin Stalkins writes again.
What is happening?
Again.
What was that?
That was the theme tune to... Well, played very badly. That was the theme tune to the YouTube show Justin Hawkins rides again. Justin Hawkins being the lead singer from The Darkness. And this storyline is called Justin Stalkins rides again. Because he's a stalker, you see.
Wow.
Yeah. Ill-considered, I think, will be my reaction to having to listen to this and edit it later on tonight. On Monday, Daisy's mum, whose name I can never remember, is at number 1 for breakfast. Daisy's already sick of the sight of her. Her mum says it's like living in a kitchen sink drama, which I believe is what passes for meta these days.
Yay.
Daisy is making plans for begging for wedding freebies, which Daniel thinks might be a tough ask, given that she's not really an influencer. Then Daisy gets a message from Justin, confused that Daisy seems to have blocked her accidentally, so he's set up a new account. So she blocks that one too.
Oh, yeah.
Daisy is adopting the Limmy approach here. Block and move on.
Yes.
Daniel, the teacher, is in the pub at lunchtime having a pint and is given a task from Daisy. She tells him to sort out some free flowers from Tracy. So Daniel goes to the florist, telling Tracy that she's been given the honour of providing their wedding flowers for free if Daisy promotes the shop on her socials. Tracy offers up her kidney as well and then tells Daniel to get to fuck. In the pub later, when Daisy announces that she's bagged a free wedding dress, seemingly it's honking, and then quizzes Daniel on how he got
finished.
On how he got on with Tracy, he tells her Tracy's thinking about it, which isn't entirely false. It isn't finished.
No, because when she goes to try it on later, it's obviously not finished, and the seamstress says it's not finished yet, but you can get an idea because you can see the seams.
I didn't look at it that closely.
Well, you're a man.
But when Tracy comes in later, she orders 2 glasses of wine, takes a photo of them, and then tries to walk away without paying. Oh, it's fucking brilliant.
Brilliant. That was good.
Daisy isn't clever enough to realise what's going on, so Tracy has to spell it out. Tracy says that being in the family is honour enough, and no one needs to be ripped off by Daisy here. Back home, Daisy doesn't appreciate Daniel lying about this and has sourced another freeway florist anyway. Then she gets more texts on her phone, and this is her actual mobile phone now. He knows her number.
Yikes.
So without telling Daniel what's going on, she blocks him and moves on. Block and move on. On Wednesday, Daisy's still getting new messages from new Justin accounts that he keeps on setting up, and she's still blocking them and is still moving on and is still keeping it secret because she's scared Daniel will tell her to get off social media if he finds out. And I think if this is what she's thinking, is that a red flag? I'm not going to tell him about this because he'll make me get off social media.
Well, you can't make her do anything.
Right, but that's kind of what she was saying, though. If that's what his reaction is going to be, I don't know. There's something very.
He's not great at this sort of thing.
No, and
as we'll see later on when he is appalling.
Yeah, Daniel tells her that he won't be able to attend the wedding fair today, so she'll just have to go with Jenny and Christina is the mum's name. Christina.
How could you forget that?
Remember that for her leaving in a few minutes' time. Other rovers, Jenny and Christina are sniping at each other about which one of them is the biggest cow. And meanwhile, Glenda notices that Daisy is distracted with her worries about this Justin creep. She can't give up her socials because if she does, she loses her bargaining chip.
Right.
And she loses her free wedding.
Right.
So later, Jenny and Christina are still going at it, this time about Daisy's dad. And Daisy has had it up to her tits with this, so tells the two of them that she'll be going to the wedding fair on her own.
Is that wise, Daisy?
It's almost like she's kind of forgetting the first half of the storyline.
Right. Take Glenda with you then.
Yeah.
Take anybody.
Take the couple of characters that are already there.
Right.
Jenny and Christina blame each other for this until Glenda tells them both about the creepoid Justin. They apologise to Daisy, but it's too little, too late. So at the wedding fair, which seems to be at the Rape Hotel, Daisy's pretending that she's having a jolly old time by taking selfies of herself in front of the sign that says where she is.
Right.
Debbie's Rape Hotel, it says on the wall. So Daisy later is trying on a honking dress when an assistant announces that her fiancé has arrived. And she's like, oh, Daniel's
It's
come
not
after all.
honking. It's unfinished.
But when she opens the curtain, it's not Daniel.
No, it's not.
It's Justin. And
Yeah.
he's wearing a smashing new cagoule. But apparently the cagoule's not finished yet. She tells him to leave, but he is very much looking forward to their big day together. Champagne, darling?
Ugh.
He just doesn't listen to anything that she says. He thinks that a post from the wedding fair that she just took was a message to him to let him know where she was so they could talk without any interference from Daniel.
So creepy.
She tells him to go, but again he ignores her, saying that he's there to save her from Daniel and he'd die for her. And she threatens to call the police, so finally he slinks off, claiming that he knows her and knows that they'll be together. And all during this conversation, Daisy's wearing that stupid wedding dress
Which is unfinished.
and kind of honking.
I,
Back at the pub, Daisy has told Daniel, who is completely out of his depth when the problem isn't resolved by him getting involved with two arguing women. Then Glenda decides to show Daisy the funeral flowers that have just arrived for her. If I was Glenda, I would maybe keep that to
stop
myself.
doing that.
Daisy sees this as a message. If Justin can't have her, no one can, she actually says. They head back to number 1 and dispose of the flowers just as Tracy comes in to inform them that they were actually from her. And this stops Daniel from calling the police for some reason. He's about to call the police.
Right. And then he decides not to just because this one wasn't from the creepy stalker. Now, Daisy will take another photo later on, which I think is ridiculous. But for someone who is seemingly so social media savvy, you'd think, and is also being stalked by someone, you would think she'd be savvy enough to know not to post that photo until after she's left.
Yep.
And not to post something that has her full name on it later on and that gives a specific date and time and place that she will be at a specific time and place. Most people on social media know not to do that.
Well, funnily enough, I was just reading a post from Melanie Blake, who's a author and celebrity agent. And she follows us and we follow her on the Twitter.
Lovely person.
And she says that this is what she's been doing because of the problems that she's having.
Right.
She never posts stuff from that night. It's
No.
always like from 2 nights ago or whatever. So purely for this reason, because it is, if you are getting bombarded with this kind of thing,
Right.
the last thing you want to be doing is putting on your location services and posting something to Insta.
Yeah, that's why even like with your personal Facebook page, they say not to post your vacation photos, until you're back home because you don't want to announce to people that your house is sitting empty
Right.
for the time being.
And of course, if she does this, then this part of the storyline can't happen. But
But
It
she's
all
supposed
kinda-
to be smart.
and this is what kind of gets me with the influencer stuff. If she is supposed to be this influencer, that
And getting
She
all of this
doesn't-
free stuff.
she doesn't seem to know an awful lot about what's involved in that. And she said this week that she worked really hard on this, and I don't know that I see any evidence of that.
Except, of course, for the fact that she is getting free stuff from some people. Because it feels like it feels like she has enough of a following that people will give her stuff for free so that she will promote their stuff.
I can probably concede that people who are actual influencers and have the hundreds of thousands of followers
Right.
do work at it. I don't know that I would say work hard at it, but they do work at it.
Right. And it can be time consuming.
I don't know that anything that we've seen of Daisy kind of backs it up from her, that somebody's willing to give her a free wedding dress. I don't know. Some of it just... Do you know, the social media functionality in the Weatherfield is bamboozling at the best of times.
That's true.
Everything goes viral.
That's
so
true.
maybe that-
Everything goes viral.
maybe
so
fucking Chesney's an influencer. Who knows? So anyway, later, Christina comes to apologise again, and she announces that she's made her peace with Jenny and has realised the obvious that I've been mentioning for ages, that it's months to go until the wedding, so she's going to fuck off until then. So the point of her coming back has been, I'm not sure what.
To provide comic relief and to keep Jenny from going to the fair with Daisy, so that Daisy had to go by herself, so that Daisy could be creeped on by
I'm sure they
this
could have
kid.
worked out an alternative reason for that didn't require bringing this character. And I don't think this is the last we've seen of her.
No,
but it's
no,
just
no.
weird to bring her in for just a couple of episodes and send her on her way again.
She's fun.
Is she though? When I think about the other recent additions,
I mean, she's no Glenda.
and she's no Dee Dee.
No. But she's fun because she's honest. I like that she was honest in saying, I just hated being a parent. It wasn't for me. So I fucked off to a houseboat.
In Amsterdam.
Yes.
Later, Daniel and Daisy are walking home from the pub when they spot a delivery guy at Chesney's, and it's only fucking creepy Justin. I hardly recognise you without your cagoule, says Daisy. Daniel gives a very slow chase until Justin drives off in his van, and then Daniel starts to run and shout at it. He's been very, very careful not to do any running or shouting when Justin's not in the van driving away at speed.
Right.
Daisy doesn't think she's ever going to get rid of this creepy prick. On Friday, at number 1, Daniel is trying to track down creepy Justin through the delivery company, but funnily enough, corporations aren't in the habit of doxing their employees. To punctuate the hypocrisy of this, she gets another message, and she just deletes, blocks, and moves on. On the street, Daniel sees Justin going about his creepy package delivery job and is all over in his face telling him to sling his hook and warning him about scaring Daisy, although he mostly describes her as my fiancée, which was a bit possessive and stuff. Justin says that he never meant to scare anyone, mentions how he needed the job because his mum is in hospice, and Daniel cools at this and invites Justin round for a cuppa. And now Justin thinks Daniel is a total night creeper. In Nina's roles, Daniel tries to connect with creepy Justin and tells him about Sinead, and then kinda calls him a psycho who is consumed with grief about his mum. Daniel tells Justin to stop and is surprised when Justin just simply agrees.
So fucked up. Of all the fucked up things Daniel has ever done, sitting down to have a cuppa with his fiance's stalker
Yep.
to try to reason with him and say, look, can you just stop, please? Because let me tell you about my dead wife. And that should get you to stop creeping on my future wife,
Right.
who I'm replacing my dead wife with.
Yep.
What the hell, man?
And while we're here, let me tell you about my sex cardigan.
Look, if you want somebody to creep on, I've got a girl's number.
As I've got a cardigan I can lend you.
Right.
What's
She'll
the charm?
do anything.
The thing that got me about this was, as we are about to find out later, there is no repercussions for Daniel for this.
No.
So the show thinks this is all right.
Right.
Because I was expecting
fully
Daisy to find
expected
out.
Daisy to get so mad at him for sitting down and having a cup.
Buying him a cup of tea, no less.
Right.
And Nina's rolls, no
Right.
less.
What's wrong with him?
What, you couldn't bring him round to the house?
Right.
Where's Justin? Oh, he's babysitting Bertie for me. Give Ken a break. But the show thinks this is okay.
The show thinks this is okay.
Because when Daisy finds out about it, she doesn't say anything.
No, and nobody else does either. The show thinks this is okay. Has anybody white knighted harder than Daniel? That's what I would like to know.
He picks his battles though, bless him.
Oh, God.
Back at number 1, Daisy and Daniel are chatting about how sad and lonely Justin is. Daisy reckons that Justin has done some reading on Daniel and has worked out his weakness. He has mummy issues, cancer issues, and is a total sap. And now that Daniel realises that he's in danger too, he insists that they go to the police. So yeah. So it's just they're just having a nice little conversation about it.
Right.
Oh, well, I tried to talk sense into him by
Right.
taking him for a cup of tea and
And
having a nice wee
and she
chin
doesn't
wag
go,
with him.
what?
You did what?
You did what? No. Her whole thing is he must know how to get under your skin.
Or he's done his research.
Right. Because that's how he knows how to get under your skin, because he's done his research. I don't know if that is necessarily the case because we did see him in the hospital sitting there.
Yeah.
So I do believe he has a dying mother.
Yeah, Daisy herself says this is a bit of a stretch and you're going to poo-poo this, but this is what it looks like.
Right.
Because Daniel so quickly buckled.
And he so quickly poo-poos things. He is a poo-pooer.
Now let's talk about the police station scene.
Oh, God, do we have to? Why?
At the police station, PC Tinker could not give a solitary fuck about Daisy and Daniel's issue, saying that receiving flowers isn't intimidation. And tells...
Fuck! It is if somebody keeps sending you flowers after you tell them not to. That is the very definition of intimidation.
And he tells Daisy to keep a diary. Daisy wants to know what Justin needs to do before they will do anything. Craig says, did I mention that diary? Daisy asks if she should stop wearing short skirts too, and she promises to hound PC Tinker into his grave about this every time Justin hounds her. So Craig makes that face. And he goes to go away, and she's like, I'm no dumb with you.
Yeah,
Sit your
sit
ass
down.
back down here.
Yeah, she's a lot better than Max at getting PC Tinker to at least pay attention.
Yeah. And Daniel might as well not be there.
No, seriously. and Craig starts to give this line about how the police believe women. And it's like, really? Do you?
Yeah.
Because none of this feels like you're believing anything that's coming out of my mouth.
Right. In the Rovers, Daisy's disappointed that Bent Copper Tinker is so fucking useless, but at least they've done something positive. And to further cheer her up, her save the date cards have arrived, which forces Daisy to take a selfie and post it on the Insta.
Right, yeah. She's posting private information. She's posting Daniel's full name without consent and the date and time and location of their wedding.
Yep.
When she knows she has a stalker. And she knows that this stalker thinks that she's speaking directly to him when she posts things on her social.
Yep. He's made...
Both she and Daniel are supposed to be smart people.
Well, she's at least has
She's supposed to be
some awareness about this.
She's supposed to be street smart, and yet she's doing this.
And Daniel doesn't say, maybe you want to think about this. All he's bothered about is the fact that she's...
He rolls his eyes.
But
That's
not,
it.
but not because of what she's posting. Just because she's posting. He would rather that she wasn't on Instagram or social media because he
Right.
thinks it's stupid. But
He thinks it's stupid until they're getting free stuff, and then he's not complaining. Did you notice?
Yeah.
I'm frankly shocked that Glenda, who's standing right there as well,
She
doesn't
say
say,
that.
"Hey, maybe that's not a great idea." But you know, Daisy's like, "Nope, I'm just gonna live my life as normal and not take any precautions because it's my right to not take precautions, not even simple basic ones that people are supposed to take even if they don't have a stalker yet."
Yeah.
Hi.
And if Justin has taught us nothing about himself, it's the fact that, or nothing else about himself, it's the fact that he sees her posts as being a singular two-way communication between him and her.
Right. Yeah.
Back home, and Daisy has got another text from Justin who thinks Daniel coerced her into reporting him to the police, but he's forgiven her. So Daisy has entry number 1 for her diary, which is an actual diary, which
Yes.
surprised me as well. I think she just have
Like notes on her phone.
or whatever.
Yeah, because
Snakes on a plane.
she could literally just take a screenshot of every single one of his texts, and that could be the diary because that's
Yeah.
time stamped.
She's deleted a bunch of them, unfortunately, but
No.
oh well. Yeah, I think the fact that he knows when the wedding is it conceivable that this is going to be drawn out until May? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. He knows where she lives. He knew before he got this courier job.
He knows where she works. He knows where. He doesn't know where Daniel works, but knows where Daniel lives.
He might be.
Knows where they go for their cup of tea in the morning.
Right. Knows her friends.
Knows about Chauncey. Knows his address as well.
Yes, because
Yeah, he
he's
knows quite a
delivering
bit. Knows quite a bit.
delivering a package of shit to make shit burgers with to Chauncey's house.
Chesburgers.
Chauncey burgers. Chance burgers. Chaw burgers. Choggers.
How creepy is Justin coming across for you?
God, I hate it because it's making a Scottish accent unappealing. Why couldn't they have made him Welsh?
Yeah.
We know Welsh people can be creepy.
Oh,
Looking at you, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony Hopkins has played creepy people in the past who enjoy a nice glass of Chianti.
Yes.
And that's what I'm referring to. I'm not referring to actual Welsh people. I'm referring to Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Okay. Good save. It feels like the way that this has been going, because for the last couple of episodes and into last week, you're thinking, oh, this is quite interesting. We've got two couples that are planning a wedding at the same time.
Right.
And not thinking that they could possibly converge at some point.
Right.
And not thinking that they could possibly converge at some point with a creepy Scottish stalker with a cagoule
Right.
who isn't scared to use it.
No.
I wonder if all three of those things are going to come to form a perfect storm in May.
You know, it's a shame that she doesn't ask. I mean, she doesn't really want Gemma's opinion on fashion. Let's be honest. But you'd think that she would say, "Oh, I'm trying these dresses on. Would you like to see them?" You know, she does invite them for a glass of champagne, which was nice. But you'd think, I'm in this place alone with a creepy stalker possibly able to find me, since I posted on social media exactly where I am, exactly at the time that I'm there. The thing is she doesn't post. There's nothing in her post that identifies the fact that she's trying dresses on at this particular dealer. I'm assuming there are other wedding dress dealers there.
How big do you think the Rape Hotel is?
There are lots of rooms there with lots of things going on in lots
It was
of
a
rooms.
conference room. It was just a conference room.
You can fit a lot in a conference room.
Yeah, you can probably walk around and let's give it the benefit of the doubt. 5 minutes. It's pretty exact.
That's not much of a fair though. If it's only one conference room,
Right? Yeah, maybe it's not.
but it looks like it's bigger than that because Gemma and Chauncey are walking through a number of different rooms. We see them go through a number of different doorways, open doorways. Still,
All right.
and I'm calling him Chauncey right now because I'm mad at him.
Okay, let's move on then to our next storyline, which is Max's breakfast porridge. On Monday, in Nina's roles, David is with Gail and Stephen. He gets an email from Max's lawyer that the charge has been increased to encouragement of terrorism. He's not even a terrorist, says David.
Yeah,
No,
not
no.
understanding.
That's why he wasn't charged with being a terrorist, I guess.
He wasn't charged with terrorism. It was encouragement. Encouragement, David.
We also discovered that the roof box that Stephen got was destroyed in an accident when Stephen went into a parking garage and misjudged the space.
Was he driving in Lansing under that bridge by the zoo?
Maria comes in and is far more pleasant than she has to be. She
No,
says
seriously.
that Max is still a racist wee prick, but offers David any assistance that he needs. But later, in a conversation with Gail, Maria says that Max came good in the end, which is why no one got blown up a couple of weeks ago. And
Except
I'm
for
not
Alya.
sure that that's coming good.
No.
That's more just bottling it.
Right.
Plus, it was Alya that stopped people getting blown up by getting blown up herself.
Right.
So, what the fuck, Maria? Show
Who
me some of
knows?
that Spanish dancing. At home with the solicitor, she thinks Max has a decent chance of getting off due to the grooming stuff from Griff.
Right.
David is elated until he learns that the lawyer's fee is going to be astronomical if Max does as advised and pleads not guilty. In the Rovers, David explains this to Gail and Stephen and Audrey. Gail says she would rather Max got off based on the facts, not because some fancy lawyer can put a positive spin on it. Audrey wonders if she can release the equity on Grassmere Drive to help with the lawyer's fees, and promises to think about it. Now that was a good point from Gail.
Yeah. No kidding.
Just let's get him off. Sure, let's get him off.
Right.
But let's not
get him off
lie
because,
about it.
right, yeah. If we have to lie about it, then obviously he doesn't deserve to get off.
Right.
But not like that.
Right.
Well, maybe like that as well.
And Audrey, I think, is this the second or third time she's threatened to release the equity on Grassmere Drive
Right.
since Stephen has...
And then Stephen makes a face.
Because she was going to do it to go on
For
the
the
cruise. wasn't
cruise,
she?
right. And for something else, too.
It's just every time like, oh, I need to get a new bulb for the downstairs lavvy. Maybe if I release the equity on Grassmere Drive, I can... Alone with Audrey later, Stephen suggests that it's about high time Max faced the consequences of his actions. Too many times his family has forgiven him, and all that's happened is his behaviour has gotten worse. And this gives Audrey some pause. And I know that Stephen here is saying all this for entirely the wrong reason.
But he's
100%
not wrong.
right.
I hate that. I hate when bad people are right. It happens sometimes.
So meanwhile, David is visiting Max, explaining that Audrey's going to cough up for the legal fees, so that's one thing less to worry about. Yikes. David encourages him not to plead guilty, confident that the lawyer will get him acquitted. Back home, David is about to leave for the hearing when Audrey and Stephen arrive to explain that Audrey's not going to be stumping up the cash for the lawyer after all, and maybe this is the shock that Max needs. Realising that Stephen is behind this, David goes for him, kinda. And they tickle each other a bit until Gail manages to pull David off, but not like that. David heads off for the hearing, shouting that everyone has let Max down.
It was the most pathetic fight I've ever seen in my life.
And it went on forever.
That must have been what he was like with that lady in boots.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't listen to the live Social Cinema Club?
The Social Cinema Club?
Isn't it Social Cinema Club?
Sofa Cinema Club.
Sofa. Social Sofa. Cinema.
No, I didn't.
Fa-fa-fa-fa-fum. Yes, apparently.
She assaulted someone in boots?
Yeah, assaulted a woman with some baby wipes.
Oh.
Who jumped the queue.
Oh.
When he had
That's a strange thing to admit on our podcast. I suppose.
6 bottles of moisturizer because they were on sale.
I don't feel like I'm getting the full story from you.
Jack P. Shepherd needs a lot of moisturizer.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
I obviously mocked this on Twitter.
Of course.
And somebody said, well, he's probably not wanting to punch him because it's his uncle.
Right.
So maybe that's why it looks like that. And I'm like, then why film it then?
Right.
If that's the case, why film it?
Right.
Why have him go for him? Yeah. They're like two Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Thank God Max didn't see that, or he'd really not think his dad was an alpha male.
Right.
Or his uncle.
It was the fact that Stephen's expression never really changed during any of it. And then Gail just grabs David around the midriff and just yanks him away.
Well, she is taller than he is.
Gail's not taller than anybody.
Neither is David.
Oh, that's unfair. I'm sure he's a strapping 5'5".
He's taller than Lily.
Yeah, and that's all he needs to be.
Right.
Yeah, so everyone has let Max down. At the hearing, Blake isn't exactly pissing himself as his charges of attempted murder and conspiracy to be a terrorist are read out. He whispers to Max that they're going to be heroes and pleads guilty. And Max seems to be swayed by this, and when his charge of encouraging terrorism is read out, he pleads guilty too.
Yes.
Now, I thought this was a strange thing to do.
I don't understand the British court system at all, and the show doesn't help.
What's confusing you?
Well, because once he pleads guilty, everybody's like, well, that's it. There's not going to be a court case now.
No, there's no trial.
Yeah. Whereas here in America, if you plead guilty, there's still a trial.
To do what?
To prove that you really are guilty.
So if you say that you're guilty of something, there's still a trial to prove that you're guilty? Then what's the point of having a plea? I don't think that happens. I think the same thing happens here as happens there.
And then there's like all the negotiations and stuff.
No, and I think this is common across both legal systems. That if you don't get your trial because you've kind of waived it by pleading guilty to something. So the only point of having court cases is because somebody's pled not guilty, and that's why somebody has to decide. A jury of your peers, no less.
Which doesn't always happen. That it's your peers.
Oh. Well, Piers Morgan can't be everywhere.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God. Ugh. Can you imagine?
If he was everywhere?
Can you imagine if there was
No, I don't want to talk about
if
any
there
of
was
this.
like a Being John Malkovich situation only with Piers Morgan?
Oof.
Blah. Nobody would crawl through that hole.
But not like that.
Definitely not
No,
like that.
if their purpose was to create some racial division and stuff, and to go down as being heroes for doing this,
Right.
I would think that they'd want to drag this out for as long as possible, which would mean pleading not guilty
Right.
to make sure that there's a trial. Because now I'd be amazed if this even makes the papers. 'Cause
Right, yeah.
they plead guilty and that's it. It's done.
Yeah. Well, Blake seems to think that stabbing a brown woman makes him a hero to people. So he's pleading guilty because he's proud of what he's done. Max seems to be pleading guilty because he's not proud of what he's done,
Right.
and he's finally taking responsibility.
Right, and there's a very good
And
a very good bit coming up.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how I feel about that yet.
So David shouts on the judge to ask Max again, best 2 out of 3, didn't know what he was saying. But the judge says it was for keepsies and there ain't no backsies.
Nope.
The lawyer tells David that Max is now looking at the arse end of 15 years inside. Later, David phones Max, but Max says that he needed to take responsibility for what happened. He says plenty of people warned him, Spider, Shona, even David, and he didn't listen.
Right.
And he hangs up. And I thought, finally, it's finally
Right.
dropped.
Yeah.
Starting to make sense. He sees through the mist that has kind of been fogging his brain and his vision on this. The sharp shock seems to be a thing and seems to have kind of give him the clarity to see this now.
Yeah. I don't know, though. Because you would think when he got blown out of a car, that would have been enough. Or when Alya got blown out of a van, that would be enough. Is it because he was there and he actually saw the stabbing? Is that what shocked him? And is he still racist? Is he sorry because he doesn't want Alya to die, but he still thinks that brown people shouldn't be in England? You know, it feels a little too tidy for him to be.
Well, the difference is that he's been arrested for this.
Right. Finally, somebody arrested this kid.
But what was the moment of clarity for him? Because last week at the tail end, when he's getting questioned by the nation's favourite DS Blondie,
Right.
he's saying, "You think I'm stupid scum here, and I'm
Right.
not scum. I was born here," and all this kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So what happened?
And then he gets charged, and as he's charged, he's shouting on David for help, and David can't provide help.
Right. And now all of a sudden he's.
It seemed to be Blake pleading guilty that was what made him rethink.
Which. Does that make sense?
I don't know. It was good to hear him say these things, though.
Right. Yeah, you want him to say these things, but you want him to say these things for the right reasons. And it's like, is it him realizing that, yes, indeed, his videos did make this person crazy enough to stab someone? I'm not sure. It feels like a very neat and tidy and quick switch.
Yeah, I do think this storyline is as much as I approve of it, and I'm grateful that they've tackled this kind of thing better than they have in the past. Better than when Michael or when Grace was kind of racially profiled coming out of Fresh Goes, and Michael and James, when they were driving, were kind of racially profiled, and it was kind of dealt with in an episode. That this has kind of been given a bit more thought and a bit more structure and plan into it. But it's felt for the last week or two that it's been kind of rushing towards a conclusion. It doesn't feel like this is a conclusion, though. He's not been sentenced yet. And I don't know if Griff's been sentenced yet.
No.
And I think there are still people on the run about this, one of them being the aforementioned Dave.
Right,
But,
who's never going to get caught, apparently.
So it does feel like there's going to be something coming out of this still to come. But
and this is my concern with finding out that Adam Little has left the show and that we won't see Blake ever again, is you would think a conversation or two should be had between the two of them.
yeah, there's a loose end there.
Yeah.
But they're probably not going to be allowed to be near each other
No.
ever again because of this. Anyway,
Yeah,
we still
which
got a
is
little bit
why it's weird that they're being charged together.
Yeah. We still got a little bit to go on this. So Gail tries to comfort David, but he's upset, not just because he thinks he's let Max down for not dragging Max away from Griff, but also that he's let Kylie down. And that was quite moving.
Yes. Yes, it was nice that he remembered Kylie. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's being too hard on himself too, though, because he did try to drag Max away.
Oh, he went round there.
A number of times.
Mm-hmm. At least twice.
You know, I feel like he's being too hard on himself here.
On Wednesday, David is at work thinking of nothing else other than the sentencing. Maria seems to be impressed that Max admitted to what he did wrong. David still thinks that he should have pleaded not guilty and then stood a chance of getting off for encouraging someone to try and stab Maria. Yes, says Maria. Because let's face it.
Right.
If Max is not guilty, let's be honest
Right.
about what he's not guilty of.
Right.
Which is encouraging Blake to try and stab Maria.
Right.
While Maria's still standing there.
Right. Yeah. How she can be so tolerant of this family, I do not understand.
I think luckily she's not very clever. Later, David bumps into Alya and Nina's roles, and they have an awkward exchange until Alya feels compelled, out of politeness, to tell David that none of this was his fault. But David is in an introspective mood and reckons that he should have shouted less and listened more. And actually, the way that Maria's been painted recently, she is far more intelligent than she's been given credit for previously.
Yeah. So. Yes, absolutely.
So, like anyone presented with a crisis, David goes home and starts wiring into the whiskey. He's about to ding you a call from Shona, but his conscience gets the better of him. And she wants to come home, but he tells her to stay put and look after Lily, because they're in that London, remember?
Right, yeah. And she's not supposed to come back until she drops that baby.
There were moments of that kind of thing that you were worried about, people kind of forgiving a little bit too quickly here. It still feels like Gail is
it's the one voice
that
of
just
reason.
refuses to be swayed.
No.
She sees exactly what's going on.
Right.
Can still love the boy, but
right.
But what he's done here is pretty fucking awful.
Yeah, because she can see the mistakes that she made with David just repeating themselves. Mm. And so she has a little experience when it comes to this, you know? Ugh. It's a wee shame.
It is.
It's a wee shame nobody listens to Gail.
Now, if Max is looking down the arse end of 15 years here, that would be him out of the show for
15 years.
7 and a bit years, because you'd normally get half.
Right.
I don't think they're about to do that.
No, especially since he's been winning awards lately.
So,
unless they have multiple prison scenes, which they have done with other characters.
Not for that length of time.
Not for years.
No.
But, Gary was in there for quite some time. David was in there for quite some time.
Gary was in there to keep Johnny company, though, remember?
Johnny and his invisible cat were in there for quite some time. Remember Johnny's invisible cat?
Yep.
And his invisible dead son.
Yes. Not the same ghost.
His invisible cat son. His son was Navi.
Yeah. His invisible ghost son is next on the pool table.
Oh, dear.
The conceivable, acceptable outcome for this, I think, from a practicality point of view for the show would be for Max to get a year.
Right.
And they can't go from this crime has a 15-year tariff, so he's going to get 12 months suspended. That just can't happen. And I kind of thought he was already on a suspended sentence for something or other.
Drugging people?
I thought maybe he was already on a warning for that would be taken into account. Maybe I got that wrong, but I was sure that it was.
Yeah, because he was arrested for that, wasn't he?
I thought
eventually?
so. I thought so, but it's all
kind of a blur
blurring,
because
right?
I remember David was going to turn him in, and then Shona persuaded him not to do so, which was very dumb of her to do. But then I thought for sure that Amy had pressed charges because she's the one that he drugged.
Oh, she probably dropped them. The charges, that is. There's another few scenes that kind of belong by proximity to the storyline. So let's go through Alya's bombproof, stabproof jacket. On Monday, Alya is wearing the bulkiest Puffa jacket I've ever seen as she shuffles down the street. Gail checks on her, but Alya says that she can't stop to chat, and she shuffles off. And later at home, she hears a radio report about Max and Blake's hearing and seems to struggle to get to the sofa. And she gets a call from Yasmin, and she insists that she's okay, but it's clear that she's anything but. And on Wednesday, Dee Dee drags Alya to the pub, but she's clearly still in some discomfort and is still wearing her massive Stabproof Puffa jacket. Maybe this was too soon, an observant Dee Dee tells Ryan. And in the booth, Ryan says, life, eh? Who knows what it's going to throw at you next? And he says that he imagined that by this point in his life he'd be settled down with some kids by now. And Alya practically chokes in her orange juice, never thinking that he wanted kids. And the two of them share a look that doesn't go unnoticed by Dee Dee.
Correct.
And that's all that happens there.
Yes, get the two of them back together.
Oh, yes, please. I mean, she looked so happy when she's sitting with Ryan.
Yes.
And Ryan's obviously
very happy sitting with Alya.
With her. I mean, I think this just goes to the point of nobody wants to see Alya in hospital for a week recovering from
a collapsed lung
and stab wounds through fairly ouchy parts of her body, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to see that. But she got out less than 24 hours later.
Right. With a collapsed lung.
And is now kind of shuffling about looking like she could
die at any second.
Right. And I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they had to make her get out.
Just leave
so
her
quickly.
in the hospital. She could have cute little looks and talk about having kids with Ryan in the hospital.
Ryan could come to visit her, exactly.
Right. And bring her flowers.
So
and kiss her head.
Why they've dragged her out?
I don't understand
for this.
it. I don't get it.
Because it's
so that she could bump into Gail and be awkward with Gail.
I don't know that that's worth it.
It's not.
Yeah, and Alya to David about it not being his fault kind of felt like it was more just out of politeness than anything else. That I'm in an awkward social situation where I'm standing next to the man whose son encouraged someone else to try and stab Maria and stabbed me instead. So I better tell him that it's not really his fault.
Right.
And he doesn't just accept that. He has to say, oh, no, it really is my fault because I'm such a terrible dad. And Alya says, honestly, pal, I don't care.
Right.
Just let me shuffle away from here.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to our next storyline.
How many more storylines do we have?
We have 3 more.
Oh, my
God. 4 more. We have
what?
4 more.
4?
2 of them are very quick.
Yes. What involves teeth? We have 2 teeth-related storylines this week.
Let's talk about double bacon Chesburger first.
Oh, do we have to?
On Monday at the Quad House, Chesney is gently explaining why his burger idea is better than Gemma's wedding idea, as it'll set them all up for life. Gemma is far from convinced and needs to get to work to earn the money that he's spending on his dreams. During Gemma's kiddie monitoring, Paul comes round and is sad to hear how upset Gemma is about Chesney spending the wedding fund on his burger plans. She knew she'd never get a fancy wedding, but hoped she'd get a day where she felt special. And I really felt for her in this scene. She's she's so frustrated.
Yeah.
And she's so at the end of the tether, and she knows that she's not making any sense that she's going on about this. But all she wanted was a special day.
Right.
And it didn't even need to be even perfect.
No.
Just a special day.
Well, Gemma, this is your fault for falling in love with Chauncey.
Right. On the plus side, though, Gemma's supervision of Bertie has gone well, and so Daniel is keen to make this a permanent arrangement.
They made toilet roll penguins.
Meanwhile, Paul was doing a shite upstairs and comes down to invite Gemma to a meal on him later at Speed Dial.
Right. And also tells Daniel that he bought Bertie that thing that he wanted for Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. He said, oh, I found that thing. And he's like, oh, send me the link. And he says, don't worry about it. I already bought it. So Ed is evidently paying Paul very well, which is good. That somebody knows how to pay their employees correctly. Looking at you, Dev.
Gemma is shocked to see Chesney there instead. Paul has set them up and then arrives to tell Gemma that he's going to throw some money at the wedding so Gemma and Chauncey don't have to. And I assume this is some of the $5,000 that he was going to give Summer a few weeks ago.
Let's hope so.
And he also pays for their meal. What a lovely brother. On Wednesday, Ches and Gemma are hanging out washing. It seems that the quads are dressed like the Beastie Boys from the Intergalactic video.
And the show didn't bother to take out the folds.
Yes, those onesies are just out the packet.
Those vinyl onesies. They washed vinyl onesies in the washing machine, and now they're hanging vinyl onesies out to dry. Mm-hmm. Oh, dear.
They're getting ready to head off to the wedding fair that Daisy's going to in another storyline with a view to catching some free ideas and not spending any of Paul's pennies. They meet up with Daisy, who gives them some freebie hints and tips and suggests that they get matching wedding tattoos. Gemma ends up with ideas of arriving to their wedding on horseback. Chesney says that he can barely ride a bike. Oh, it's just got so much going for you, Chesney. There's just... everything's coming up, Chesney.
Gemma, you can do better.
Chesney thinks that they can maybe afford a couple of donkeys, and again pisses on any idea Gemma has. He suggests having the reception at the Rovers.
To be fair, Gemma's idea is to have a goat as their flower girl. So...
or a llama. It's just a tall goat.
The llama was Chauncey's idea.
So they go round to ask Jenny if they can have the reception at the Rovers.
Because he likes things that spit.
The theme is getting married where you work, says Gemma. When they discuss a date in May, it turns out that their plans clash with Daniel and Daisy, which would be perfect, as if they're sharing the guests. Daniel and Daisy can pay to feed them, which means that Gemma can afford to get her goat or whatever. That's as far as we get with that.
That was hilarious.
This whole storyline is one red flag for not marrying Chesney.
It's as red as his hair.
His face wandering round about that wedding fair is just so pissed off. And he's so bored. And he's got that little look in his face that says, oh, well, we can't spend all that money, Gemma. We can't have that. We can't be doing it this way.
Right.
We can't go on horseback.
Well, in fairness, he can't go on horseback.
We're just going to have like sausage rolls and maybe chips, butties and whatever for the meal. And
Rovers.
He's bringing everything down.
Seriously. And it's like, most of it's not even his money. It's Paul's. Mm-hmm. Paul should be the one that Gemma's walking around with.
Right.
Remember when we went to a wedding fair?
Yeah, you got thrown out.
Yes.
If that money isn't from Summer's fund, he said he was going to work some extra hours for her and stuff.
Yeah.
He really is going out on a limb here.
Yeah. Well, he says that Ed's been paying him well and he's been getting a lot of work. So that's good. And he's kind of like, well, I'm not getting married anytime soon.
Mm. I do like how you've got this kind of contrast between Chesney and Gemma's wedding and Daniel and Daisy's wedding.
Right.
I like how Daisy's going, like they're both interested in getting it free.
Right.
So they're both kind of, in fact, Daisy's probably cheaper than Ches and Gemma because at least they're willing to spend some money for it. But they're going to the fair to get some ideas that they can rip off.
Right.
Daisy's just going so she can get freebies.
Right.
But Daisy thinks that she's, I don't know, Daisy thinks that she's better than Gemma. I think she does.
The show presents Daniel and Daisy as better than Gemma and Chesney.
Because neither of them work in a kebab shop.
Right. Daisy, though, is always quite kind to Gemma. Daisy never rolls her eyes at Gemma. Daisy called them over. Daisy gave them champagne.
I suppose.
Daisy is kind. But yeah, there is this presentation that this couple who is worried about spending lots of money is better than this couple who's worried about spending lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gemma and Chesney is the poverty porn of the show.
Yeah.
Even though there are 3 working adults in that house.
With several jobs each.
Right.
And Gemma's pretty much raking it in with the childminding recently.
Right. Whereas Daniel, for the longest time, didn't have any job.
Yeah, I don't know that his teaching job's paying as much that he can afford childcare like that, but anyway. Moving on. Our next storyline is the most boring storyline of 2023 so far. On Friday, at Eileen's, all 500 of the people living there have been tidying like a bunch of bastards ahead of Eileen's return.
I loved it. I loved seeing...
You loved the storyline?
I loved seeing Todd and Sean and their marigolds.
Oh, that was quite funny. Yeah.
Yes, and Mary shouting like a drill sergeant in their general direction.
It seems that Sean's letting the toilet settle for a bit. And as they're arguing, a nicely tanned Eileen arrives. And she's a bit smaller than she was before. Looks like she's gone on holiday and lost weight. Don't know how that works. Just back in the country, Eileen is in Nina's Rolls with George and Todd, talking about how she's a monkey god or something. She got George a monkey keyring and Todd some Muay Thai boxing gloves. So that was a scene that happened.
Yes.
Back home, Eileen has found the boxing gloves in the bin.
And we got to see Alex.
Oh yeah, he was listening to other people's conversations that he has no business listening to.
Right, and commenting on them because he knows a lot about kickboxing.
She forces Todd to put them on and gets George to use the pads, and she tells him to spar, which I don't think maybe George found kind of erotic.
Right,
Todd,
and you can't really spar when one's wearing gloves and the other one's wearing pads. That's just punching the pads.
Todd is useless, so they swap over and George punches Todd in the face and knocks out his teeth.
Yeah.
And it was one of those punches where the person who's punched spins round before they fall over. That was what you were laughing at then. I could hear you laughing at something that was that.
Actually, I think it's when Eileen walks into the room and shouts at all 3 of them, and all 3 of them look ashamed, like school children with the bossy school marm, and that was hilarious because it means Eileen's back.
Yes, she's back from the jungle.
Yes.
Or Thailand. Or the Thai jungle.
Yeah.
Todd has spoken with his dentist, but can't get an appointment until next week. Sean and Laurence come in and get the story, and Sean offers Lawrence's services.
But not like that.
And also suggests that Laurence might fix his tooth.
But not like that.
Todd protests for a scene and a half, so Sean takes initiative and tells Laurence to take a look at Todd's mouth.
But not like that.
Another overs later, Laurence has helped and Todd's mouth's going to be okay after all, which is lucky because he has a date later on. What a fucking boring story this is.
We got to see Todd get punched in the face. How could that be boring?
It was pointless.
It was fun.
I think it was meant to be fun. I found it just really, really dull.
I found it fun.
I liked Todd getting punched.
Right.
He sold that.
Yes.
With all his worth.
And George sold his shame very well as well.
Right.
So that was fun.
Because this was supposed to be a story that was about Todd and Laurence still being awkward with each other, but it never really manifested itself.
I feel like it's setting something up.
Yeah, probably.
Especially since he got it done for free.
That's what these Friday only stories are kind of good for, is setting stuff up in the coming week.
Correct.
But yeah, nice to see Eileen back. And nice just again to see so many people living in that house.
It's hilarious.
Our penultimate storyline is Caddy Shacked Up. On Friday, in the shop, Dev has been on the loopy juice early today and he's complaining about his golf in February being cancelled by his partner. He needs to get the practice in.
And he's describing the outfit that he goes golfing in.
Is that what he was saying?
And it's
I was
hilarious.
so lost during that.
It was
What
so
the
funny.
fuck are you going on about, Dev?
I know, and you're listening to him talk about this outfit and everything, and going into all these details, and you think, oh, he's talking about what he's gonna wear, like on Valentine's Day for a hot date with Bernie, and no, it's his golfing outfit, and he's
Is
talking.
that what it was? I
and
was
he's-
so lost, honestly.
And he's talking to Rita about it as if Rita cares. Poor
Well,
Rita.
Rita gets her revenge in those stakes later on. So Bernie offers to partner him instead. Dev mocks her a bit, but Bernie knows her way around a crazy golf course, so it's a date. And the
And
Rovers
also
later.
a club.
In the Rovers later, Bernie and Dev are back from their golf. And not only did Bernie beat Dev, she's also got an offer from the ladies' captain who wants her to try out for the team. And Dev pretends that he's thrilled by this.
Right.
And that's all that happens in that.
Yes.
I like that she's better than Dev at golf.
Right.
And it doesn't surprise me. Dev goes on about the golf club,
Right.
but never seems to play golf.
No.
So I imagine he's shit.
Maybe that's where the guy keeps canceling on him.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, the golf club for Dev is very much the social
It's
elevation
status.
thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernie knows her way around a hole, though.
Yes, she does.
Yes, she does.
She is the shepherd of the anus.
And also balls.
All right, let's move on then to... Oh, do you have anything else to say about that?
Balls.
Balls. I mean, it's good to see the two of them are
Yes.
still a thing, I
Right.
guess. And
I like
and I
that
like
they're
that
still a
she's
thing.
I like that she's better at golf than him.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of perfect.
love the teasing.
because he's going to be unbearable about
Yes,
that.
of course
and,
he is.
and she's going to be unbearable about it as well.
Yes.
So should be fun.
It good.
Our final storyline is Cocaine Bistro. This is a story that's based on a true story about the bistro that found some cocaine
In the forest.
and consumed it and jumped at an ambulance.
And then died and was stuffed and set up in a rest stop in Kentucky.
Lovely stuff. On Monday, it's the day of the Bistro Boozy session, and Damon is dead keen to get the music just right, which means he's going to DJ. Is there anything worse than DJs? And he goes off to get some kit.
Ryan
Later-
must be devastated.
Right. Later, Damon chats to Amy about Jacob. Neither of them have heard from him, and they both agree it's probably for the best. And Nick watches this interaction with concern. Damon has set up his decks and is playing dull dance music. Sam, though, is curious to know how it all works, so Damon explains that all he does is play pre-recorded sets on MP3 from his laptop and pretend that he's listening to the music on one headphone. Nick, though, isn't about to let this go on, and he snaps at Sam to go and do his homework that he's already done. Sam is confused, but he's a good boy and does as he's told.
He erases every single piece of paper and then writes the answers back in again.
The night has been a huge success or something. Amy declares it a banging event. Nick again is pissed by this and tells Damon to back off. Damon reminds Nick that he's lucky that as Nick's business partner, that he's such a likeable guy.
Charms the pants off of Rita.
Right, still some simmering tension there. On Wednesday, Sam is now obsessed with being a DJ and hopes to get more time with Damon, who says that Sam has a really good ear. Nick really wants to nip this shit in the bud while Leanne doesn't see the harm of it. And Nick's foreskin is further stuffed full of sand later when he comes in to see Damon and Leanne on the sofa, all cosy like, talking about loyalty cards for the bistro. Damon's phone rings incessantly, but he just ignores it. And privately, Damon warns Nick that things are going to get hot around about the bistro. Nick doesn't seem to care about that as much as he cares about Damon keeping the fuck away from Sam and Leanne. And Damon's phone goes again, and it sounds like there's the makings of a turf war going on here, as the caller wants cut in as Damon is operating on his patch.
What? Whoa. Wasn't this Harvey's patch?
Yeah, this felt like it was one of those throwaway lines that is potentially not important, but I bet you it's important.
Oh, yes.
At the bistro, Leanne wants to know what Nick's problem is with Damon. Me, says Nick in a high-pitched voice. I don't have a problem. But when they're short-staffed, it's Damon who shows up to help, and he wastes no time in flirting with Dee Dee, which Nick seems to disapprove of also.
Well,
God
yes.
almighty, Nick, just give this guy a break.
You do know she's a lawyer, right?
And you're a crook. Despite doing digging on Damon a couple of weeks ago, Ryan is quite taken with Damon as well. And as is Dee Dee, who accepts his offer of a date.
What?
Yeah, I never expected those two to hook it up. I don't think they will.
No. I'm still waiting for Zidane to come back and for them to hook up.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
On Friday at the Bistro, Damon sees Sam shadowboxing for some reason and gives him some tips about where he should be putting his thumbs. Sam explains that he's been having problems with a bully and Hope has recommended delivering a boot to the pie. Damon again gives some fighting advice. Later, Damon is giving Nick the lowdown of the drug delivery that's coming up. It seems that he's organised it for the lunchtime rush and doesn't care about the practicalities of this, but does care about not getting his hands dirty himself. And as they're discussing this, Leanne comes in, so they quickly change the subject, and Nick tries to wipe off that fucking look on his face. It's that look on his face that he's just like shat himself. At school, Sam is getting bullied by a girl who seems to have an inferiority complex with him. She pours soda over his head and steals his DJ magazine, so Sam threatens to fuck her up good and proper with his telescope stand.
Hey, Sam, maybe the problem is that you carry a telescope everywhere you go.
That's victim blaming you.
I know.
Okay, good.
But it's funny. Because, come on.
Oh yeah, like why did they have it so readily available?
Oh,
When a flick knife would have been better.
You know why? Because he'd just given a presentation on star particles.
There you go.
Because of course he did.
At the Bistro, Nick gets a call from the school. Sam's been in what they can only really describe as a fight. Nick brings Sam back to the Bistro.
I hope that girl got punished as well
I know.
because he's covered in soda.
And he's got the makings of a black eye that I hope is going to fade a little bit quicker than Nick's did. Because there's still the little yellow outline of that on Nick's face. Seems his bully didn't take kindly to being threatened with a telescope stand. He explains he was only following advice from Damon. Nick is furious, and he bans Sam from ever speaking with Damon again. Leanne is confused about why Nick gives so much of a fuck about this and demands to know what's going on. So Nick says, "Look over there," and then runs away. At home, Leanne refuses to let this lie and demands to know what's going on, so Nick spills that Damon is Harvey's brother and he's shipping drugs through the Bistro, and he pretty much says it exactly like that. He goes on to explain the loan that he got from Harvey and the blackmail, which doesn't make Leanne feel any better. She wants to go to the police, but Nick reminds her of the tattoo he has along his inner thighs. Snitches get stitches. No police. Leanne realises that this means that Nick was also lying about using Natasha's money and getting the okay from her sister. She gets on the phone and demands a meeting with Damon at the Bistro, advising Nick to stay the fuck away.
She rightly says, do you think Natasha's family would be happier that you took money from her murderer?
Yes. So Leanne and Damon meet up in the Bistro and Leanne tells him she knows everything. Nick has spilled his guts. Their conversation is interrupted when Rita comes in because she hasn't spoken to anyone all week and wants to speak about Danny, who used to work there or something, or just anything.
Right.
So she can hear her own voice out loud for a bit.
She wants Danny's sticky toffee pudding recipe. Exactly like that.
And that went on forever as well.
God, yeah, because like she couldn't remember his name. And then she said James Bailey's fella. And then Leanne's like, oh yeah, he doesn't work here anymore. He's in London.
Yeah.
So you're not getting that recipe, Rita.
James Bailey, that person that you never spoke to, that you know his name.
Right.
In the box office. In the box office?
Box office.
In the office, Leanne has bigger balls than Nick ever did and stands up to Damon. He tells her that he was the one that got Harvey sent to Barrel in Glasgow. Harvey is a loose cannon, and Damon, by comparison, is a cool head.
Right, and then he claims to love his son.
Yeah. He was doing actually quite well as far as we were concerned until he pretended that he was a good, loving dad.
Right, yeah.
Leanne points out that he's sticking up to Harvey to protect his family, and she's only doing the same. She's protecting Sam, and she kiboshes drugs going through her restaurant. At the flat, Sam is worried that Nick is angry with him. Nick says he isn't angry, he's just disappointed.
Sure.
Disappointed that Sam stood up for himself against a bully.
Right, yes, and also disappointed that Sam loves Damon more than him.
Yes. Leanne explains about Oliver to Damon and the courage that it took to stand up to Harvey. She's no grass, but Damon is in Harvey's shoes and she'll do what she needs to do to protect Sam. Useless prick Nick comes in. Damon says the drop's happening, but it'll be the last one and then he's out because the two of them are just far too much hassle. He leaves and Nick wonders if they can trust Damon that this really will be over, but Leanne is far more concerned about knowing if she can ever trust Nick again. And that is how we end this week's episodes.
So fucking... Why is she telling this drug dealer about Oliver when this guy does not give a fuck about your dead son? He doesn't give a fuck about his own living son or your living stepson. This is... I don't understand why conversations happen like this where characters earnestly believe that bad guys care about what they have to say. It's kind of like the whole Daniel thing with the creeper, explaining about the dead wife. It's like these people don't care.
This didn't bother me as much as the Daniel bit did, probably because Daniel.
Right.
But there seems to be a bit more respect between Damon and Leanne than Damon and Nick.
I feel like he's putting it on with Leanne as well.
Maybe, but
it
on the surface at least, he's treating Nick like a piece of shit in his shoe.
Right.
And he's treating Leanne like she's the trousers in the relationship.
Right. I guess they do come from similar backgrounds.
Similar stock, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they have the connection through Harvey, I guess. And he did seem to have... And again, you can argue whether or not it was put on or not, but he does seem to have some sympathy when he hears Leanne tell the story about Oliver that he has never expressed to Nick, when Nick has always said that Leanne's been through too much and Damon has never really been bothered about it.
He's definitely putting it on, considering the way that he's talking about his own son there, when we know that's not true.
Right. But is this going to be the last?
No. Not on purpose. It feels like maybe this will be the last because this other drug runner in the area is going to, put a bullet through Damon's head or something. But I don't believe a word that man says.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely something in that conversation that he had where not only was he refusing to let this other guy in on the turf thing, but he was very disrespectful as he was saying it. Mm-hmm. So who knows? We're told that Damon's worse than Harvey, but Harvey wasn't really
that bad
after all.
I mean, he did
kill
murder
Natasha,
someone.
right? But he still was a bit of a camp baddie. So maybe there is a bigger bad.
At least he didn't talk to his plants.
Right. So maybe there's this bigger bad that's waiting to whack Damon. And that could be a swift exit for him. But again, and this is back to the Daisy mother bit, we've got this character that's just been introduced for a fairly short period of time. I don't see Christina going out of it yet. And I don't see Damon going out of it yet. It's like...
Let's remember,
and
Damon...
we've got the whole he's asked Dee Dee out. Presumably
that will happen.
That's got to happen because it's been said out loud. So,
yeah. But let's not forget, the whole reason Damon is here was to give Jacob an exit.
Yeah.
And Jacob's gotten his exit. Still hasn't announced what he's going to be doing next, though.
No, very curious about that.
Me too.
I kind of felt sorry for Sam a little bit, though, because Sam was bringing something out of Damon. Damon was very quick to call him a little Einstein and things like that, but he was at least humouring Sam far more than I expected him to.
Right.
Although he's probably doing that because he knows that it gets under Nick's skin.
Right.
But Sam Sam being a superstar DJ is quite amusing. And
I can see it happening. Everything that kid does turns to gold.
yeah, he's not really interested in chess anymore. Now he's obsessing about
Right.
DJing.
It's interesting that it was Jude's dad who directed that episode.
Oh, was it?
Where his real life son gets covered in soda.
Oh, was it really?
Yes.
Oh, good stuff. Well, that's exciting. Good for him.
It's like how to get revenge on your child. Directed episode that he stars in.
Yeah, I don't think that worked. We need to do that getting covered in soda thing again. No, I loved Leanne in these scenes. I thought she was tough and uncompromising, and like you said, there was still that kind of that code of thieves a little bit where,
Right.
look, I'm not going to grass on you, but
Right.
don't push me because...
I wasn't brought up to be a grass.
Right. The family thing is,
Right, yeah.
is strong, and it's really nice to hear her talk
Say that about
Sam
Sam,
in that
yes.
way. That's kind of heartwarming.
Yes, that's lovely. I like
heartwarming
that.
as well.
That's
So,
good stuff.
So where does this leave her and Nick? Because
I don't know.
Harvey killed Natasha, but Harvey was trying to kill her.
Right.
It was just such a bad idea.
It really
It's like,
was.
do soap characters learn nothing?
No, they don't. Again, so many of these people are supposed to be smart. The only one who's actually smart is Sam and Roy.
But they're smart until that causes a problem with a plot, and then
Right.
they're stupid because if you're Nick, and they try to explain this by saying he's always been in business all his life, and
Right. He's
nev-
supposed to be
never
business savvy.
He's never not done this. But if the choice was you lose your bistro, or you have to do a deal with the devil, basically, and get money off the guy that killed your son's mum,
Right.
I think you let your bistro go under.
Right.
Or you do your damnedest to find
Some other way.
And he's pish about thinking that Harvey was looking for some sort of redemption there. He didn't believe a word that was coming out of that man's mouth.
Right.
So he's kind of retconning this to suit his own conscience.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I guess that is the week that was Coronation Street. Tell me, Helen, what was your moment of the week?
Could it be Todd getting punched in the face? Please. Is it Paul offering to pay for Gemma's wedding?
No.
It was very sweet. I do love Paul. What do you think it should be?
Let me think of
Yeah,
the
see?
scenes that I liked. Well,
Not easy.
Well, the scene that I liked was Max taking his responsibility.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure about it.
Right.
Is it Steve?
Oh, maybe it was Daisy reading the riot act to Tinker. I thought Daisy was awesome in that.
Oh, yeah, that was good. Yeah, let's give it to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daisy.
Craig finally getting his comeuppance from being a shit cop.
Yeah, I just loved Daisy's. Her anger was exactly directed in the right place there.
Absolutely.
To this shit cop who doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
That is our
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
boring moment of the week. It's got to be in that shit boring storyline, surely.
I liked that storyline, though.
Is it George's Keyring?
Is it Eileen trying to teach Thai words to George and Todd? And George being so proud of being able to say macaque. Look, it's macaque.
The Chesney and Llamas.
Is it Gemma explaining how a goat can be a flower girl? No, I think it's Eileen and George and Todd in Nina's roles. And
It literally
Eileen
went nowhere.
and Eileen teaching them how to say, monkey guardian in Thai, which Alex knew what it was immediately. And Eileen talking about how much the monkeys there liked her.
It was boring for me because at the end of the scene, I was like, how does that advance anything? I mean, we've given Todd the gloves, but yeah, that was just that. Fuck it.
Boy moment of the week.
It's just seeing white people trying to say words is funny, but also sad.
Fair enough. Well,
And I say that as a white person.
I think we should wrap this one up then.
Please.
If you know words and would like to try and say them, you can say them to us. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram and Mastodon. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode.
Thank you.
And we will be back next week with more
Our Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.